Hello, dear friends. The history of aircraft design has seen its fair share of fascinating aircraft models. Some stood out for their impressive technical specifications, while others, on the contrary, turned out to be complete failures. But among those that also stand out for their unique appearance, there is room for a true Siamese twin. That is exactly the right name for the American heavy fighter F-82, twin Mustang, which did not get to see action in World War II, and whose service in the U.S. Air Force was short-lived. Yet during that time, it managed to see combat and even set a world record that remains unbroken to this day. The history of this memorable fighter begins in 1943, when the U.S. command planned to develop an aircraft to serve as an escort for B-29 strategic bombers. Given that both were intended to carry out combat missions in the Pacific Theater of Operations, which involved long-range flights, it was decided to make the new aircraft a two-seater to make the pilot's job easier. The design was entrusted to North American, which came up with an unusual design solution. The new aircraft was essentially two elongated P-51H fighter fuselages, joined by a wing and tail stabilizer. In the history of aircraft construction, this model is remembered not only for its unusual design, but also for being the last piston-engine fighter in service with the U.S. Air Force. In principle, development took relatively little time, just over a year and a half, but this proved to be too long for the aircraft to see action in World War II. The XP-82 prototype made its first flight only on July 6, 1945. However, the fact that the aircraft, intended for combat operations, arrived too late for the war did not spell the end for it. The planned production run was simply reduced, from 500 to 270 units, but the aircraft went into production, replacing the P-61 Black Widow night fighter. Moreover, it turned out that even after the end of World War II, this unusual fighter was able to participate in combat operations. Specifically, it was deployed from 1950 to 1952 during the Korean War. During this period, it shot down 16 enemy aircraft. Another fascinating chapter in the history of both the F-82 twin Mustang itself and aviation in general occurred in February 1947, when the aircraft with the amusing nickname Betty Joe made a non-stop flight from Honolulu to New York, covering a distance of approximately 8,047 kilometers. Thus, a flight range record was set for a piston-engine fighter, and it remains unbroken to this day. However, the lifespan of the Siamese aircraft proved to be short, just 8 years. By 1953, the U.S. Air Force had already adopted quite a few new models, primarily jet fighters. The piston-powered F-82 twin Mustang could no longer compete with them, so it was retired from service. That's all for today. If you liked the video, please support it with a like and subscribe to the channel. Bye for now, everyone. See you next time.